You are listening to Salty Believer Unscripted, a conversation on Christian ministry and the Christian life.
This is Salty Believer Unscripted. I'm Josiah Walker.
And I'm Bryan Catherman.
And on today's episode, I have a question.
Oh boy, what you got?
So I just want to open this up, talk to you about this. You know, I'm a pastor, and I've just taken over as the lead pastor. Obviously, our listeners know that. You and I have gone from working together to working separately. And I've just really been wrestling with the hospitality piece. Because I know pastors are called to be hospitable and open their homes to others. And I live in a tiny townhome. Like, I've got like a little breakfast nook that barely my wife and I can fit in. And so it's awkward and it's hard when we invite people over for dinner. And I just was talking to my wife the other day, and it just feels like we're not being hospitable. We're not doing what God's called us to do because we can't have a large family over for dinner.
You know, so your question is, what do I do if I can't have people in my house?
Yeah, like,
how do I show hospitality? Is that what you're saying?
Am I not being hospitable? I mean, it's almost December. Should I just like set up a table in the backyard and we just bundle up and eat? Like, am I failing as a pastor because I can't have a large family over to my house? And does that mean I'm not being hospitable?
Well, I think there's a little bit of an unfortunate reality in maybe the last, I don't know if this is just 10 years or 20 years or what. Maybe it's more than that. But we've put this idea in our head that there's only one way to show hospitality. And so showing hospitality is certainly having people into your home, and it's certainly providing them with meals and spending time together and bringing them sort of into your life in those ways. It's certainly that, but that's not all it is. It's that, and it can be more and should be more. I would say probably the biblical principle is more than that, and that is an aspect of what the biblical principle looks like. So in my mind, I'm going to places in Scripture, like you're thinking of the deacon. Is it the deacon language?
It's like in First Timothy.
Able to show hospitality, right? Yeah. Or shows hospitality or whatever. Or whatever. I just say that so flippantly. But like that's an important instruction. But we also see for the Christian things like Romans 12:13, where you're sharing with those in need, you're demonstrating or you're displaying or practicing hospitality. 1 Peter 4:9, where you're supposed to do this without any grumbling, or the super mysterious one, that's like, don't forget to be hospitable to strangers, care well for them, because you might be showing hospitality to angels without them knowing it. Don't miss the main point there, because you get excited about maybe I had an angel that I was being hospitable to. Like, the point is, being hospitable and having this regular practice comes out of a principle that goes all the way back, Old Testament. You see the people of God, the covenant people, are supposed to be hospitable to the foreigners as they come in. Right. They're supposed to care for them in certain ways and let them come into their community so that they can encounter God well. Being hospitable to widows, we see that, or the poor, or showing that you care for their needs, sometimes above even your own. That's this aspect, this thought of hospitality. I think about Acts chapter 2, where like everybody is in 2, I'm going to 2 and 4, it comes up twice. We're like, okay, everybody's sharing what they had, and they're all caring for one another so that nobody has need. I think the principle here in hospitality is showing love to strangers. That's, I think, kind of what's behind the construction of the word. That's behind the idea, is you're showing love. I would say not only to strangers, but people in your congregation. Yeah. But in those others, in the section that I'm bringing, like giving a cup of cold water to somebody who's poor. Like, there's this idea that you're showing love to others. And the Bible makes a special emphasis on some of these people who are not your insiders. They're not your regular crew. But also there's a sense that you're doing this with the people in your faith family, right? That's that Acts 2 deal. So it's not give a meal or open your home. It's showing love, right? So go ahead.
No, that's really helpful, because whenever I hear the word hospitality, I think of it either as like from a pastor's perspective of opening their house up for dinner to have guests over or people from the church, or it's the person who makes coffee on Sunday mornings in the lobby.
Which, again, both of those things are an aspect of it, right?
But there's a bigger picture here, is what you're saying.
Let's talk about it for like making coffee on Sunday morning. I've been to places where like I went to one church and we went to visit. We'd never been there before. And everybody was just walking down a hallway. You walk in, there's nobody there greeting you to let you know where to go, what to expect. Okay, there's a room here. Is there stuff for kids? What's going on
Right.
here? And everybody's like walking back. I see people walking around with coffee cups. I can't figure out where that is. So I'm looking around. I can't figure it out. I'm feeling very out of place. People are looking at me like they don't know what's going on. And finally someone goes, oh, hey, the coffee's in the back. Like they could tell that I was new.
Sure.
They'd never, it wasn't a very big church.
Right.
You know, I'd never been there before. We obviously look like we don't know where we're going. And instead of saying, hey, are you new here? Can I walk you back here? Our coffee's in this kitchen. So we wind around one hall, go down another hall. We felt very out of place and very lost. And so it didn't feel very hospitable that as a new person coming in, they weren't concerned at all about my needs, what I was thinking about, my anxieties or concerns, my even fears maybe of being in this new place, right? So I would say that would be an example of not being hospitable.
Sure.
Whereas, hey, we made coffee, we've supplied some refreshments for the people who come. It's out here in an obvious place. This goes a lot deeper than that, though.
Right.
This goes to things like somebody welcoming, somebody letting me know where to go or what to do without weird insider language and without like it's.
I think that's one of the perilous.
In.
That's one of the perilous pitfalls that we can fall into is we just get accustomed to our church and we all kind of, it almost feels like a members club where I've been to churches where like everyone who goes to that church, well, they go through this door, but the visitors don't know that everyone goes through that door. So the visitors, come in through a different door and it's just awkward because you don't know, or you don't know your way around.
Is that showing love to these individuals that you're actually helping them, that you care about them? Hey, I want to care about you. We ran into a situation where I'm at where I was like, oh, that class is in the nursery office. I'm like, well, where in the world is like someone walks in, they've never been here before. They don't know where the nursery is. There a sign that directs them to the nursery office? We have a lot of names here. Lots of churches do this. They have names for their various stuff, like their youth program has a name and no one knows where that is, or these rooms have names. Oh, that's in the tree room. Well, do you have a sign to the tree room? Can you walk me to the tree room? Oh, there's like, it's insider language that is so uninviting to outsiders. I'm experiencing a lot of this moving to a new town that's a small town, right? So here I am in this small town, and everyone knows how you find out where the dump is and this thing and that thing, and the website's not very helpful for the city. And I went to go get my driver's license, and you go to the website and it says go to such and such building, and you go to this thing and we're all done and like, oh yeah, just take this to the courthouse and talk to Cindy and then you can pay at the courthouse. I'm like, where, how, who's Cindy, what? Like as a new person, they go, when you're accustomed to it, you don't think about it. Oh, everyone knows that's just what we do and that's how it is. Well, I don't know that's what we do and that's what it is. I was at a church service where like, oh, we all walk up at this point without any instruction, any guidance, and this is when you get the Lord's Supper and then you walk back. I'm like, how would I know that's you haven't expressed any sort of like welcoming me in, inviting me into this encounter. That's just church, right? But we do this with lots of things.
Sure.
So showing love would be probably, I'd say, what the root of this hospitality thing is. I don't know if that helps you.
No, that's good. I keep thinking about it in a church context, of making people feel welcome when they're visitors and things. But there's lots of ways that you can show hospitality just being out and about as well, right? And just even grocery shopping or being in the community. And that's where I struggle too a little bit is, there's a pretty large vagrant issue in Salt Lake City where there's just homeless people and people wandering around all the time. And I feel guilty sometimes not giving them money, but sometimes I don't want to give them money that they're going to use in ways they shouldn't.
Other things, right?
And so how do we show hospitality just out and about?
What are some ways that you can love people biblically in a Christian sense? Hey, can I pray with you? Hey, would you like to come with me and we'll buy some food? That's clearly a need you have, but what else is there? It doesn't always have to be, there's a whole lot that goes into, say, homeless ministry or widows and orphans or things, but this goes like who in your community, didn't have somebody to connect with during the holidays. And we always think about this at Christmas and Thanksgiving, but, I had some people go, hey, you're new in town. What are you doing for the 4th of July? Right? My family's all gathering. Would you like to come and hang out with my family? But a lot of people in my community are like, well, my family gathers on that day, so good luck to you. Or, we always do this, but we've never let the outsider in. And so a lot of people
Sure.
in this small town will say, well, it's hard to get connected here in this town because we're real
Yeah.
cliquish. That's because we don't know hospitality. Hey, it's
Right.
hard to get connected in the church because nobody's saying hi to an unfamiliar face. Oh, well, it's a big church. We don't know everybody. Or I'm spitballing with lots of possible issues at churches.
Sure.
Hey, well, I can't say hi to the stranger because I have to go clean up the coffee pots and do whatever. Well, let's structure things in such a way that allow us to be hospitable, inviting people into Sunday school classes, so here's an easy one. If you have a Sunday school class on Sunday morning and you're in a place where guests are showing up to your church and you want them to be able to engage in, say, a Bible study with you, if you have a book that you had to buy in advance and you're watching videos, I'm not saying these studies are bad, but you have to watch a video ahead of time. You have to fill out all the homework in your book. You have to own the book. It's all sequential. And so you show up new and you see that there's a book, you're behind. You're not going to feel like you can just join that. Those are good studies for like, hey, we're going to do this on the side in the middle of the week where it's not so obvious that new people are dropping in. But if it's Sunday morning and you don't have a way that someone can go, I just bring my Bible and get involved in a conversation, are you showing hospitality that way? Well, not really. Because you're sort of telling people, well, not thinking of your needs. I'm not helping you get plugged in here. I'm not considering that we started 4 weeks ago and now you can't join my class.
And I get it. Like a lot of us are introverted. We're not big extroverts over the top. Sometimes it's hard to keep a conversation going with somebody who's new or you don't know. What I found really to be helpful is introducing them to people who I know love to talk, who I know are very outgoing.
Which is a loving thing to do. Let me introduce you to people so you can get to know people.
Right. Because one, I'm not the only person this person now knows at the church. Two, they've got to meet somebody else because you don't want to just walk up and go, hey, I'm so-and-so. I mean, I experienced that even just going to the Simeon Trust workshop with you. There were lots of pastors from all over the world, and I didn't feel comfortable just like engaging myself in conversation with others. Like I didn't know these people.
Well, we didn't do a very good job of this, nor did anybody else. We should probably be clear about that. It's a room full of pastors and everybody's getting ready to eat lunch and everybody's clustered up at their tables. Nobody was inviting other people to sit with them at their tables. We didn't either. Well, this is my safety zone. Well, that guy looks like he's not here with friends. Good luck to him. Like we should have said, hey man, are you here with anybody? You want to sit with us? This would be a way of showing hospitality.
I remember a family coming to our church, and one of the other families in our church invited them to a birthday party that day. And I thought, that's so weird. This family's never coming back. But they did, and they got plugged in.
Yeah, they went.
And they went to the party. They went and bought a gift that day and went to the party, and then they kept coming to our church and became members. But also, like, you talk about moving to a new town and stuff. I remember at our church, a lot of times, the people who have moved in from out of state end up having Thanksgiving dinner together. Like, they all get together, those who don't maybe have family here in town, and they'll have a meal together. And I think that's really fun.
It's really great, but maybe some of the people that are in town and maybe some of the people that have these regular ongoing things also need to think about, I mean, part of the reason they do that is because no one else is inviting them into their lives. So it's good that those individuals are being hospitable, but when all of us start to be more hospitable and think about, hey, what is necessary here? I'll give you a really good example where I'm not good at this, and there are some people that are really good at this. We had a kind of a discovering the church meeting or a new members meeting, or so you got people the discovering the church one was the people who really weren't from our church. They weren't the regulars at the church. And we have people here that are really good at saying, oh, well, they probably need water and they might need a pen and they might need, let's put some ways to make them feel very welcome and very invited. You know what? So like name tags. Okay. Who gets a name tag printed? We went to the Simeon Trust thing. Yeah. A bunch of people had name tags. If you show up and you didn't have one for you, and I'm like, do I have to handwrite my name on a name tag because you didn't have one for me? I'm going to, right off the bat, I'm going to look like the outsider who wasn't registered, who showed up late, which I did register. And they were like, let us print you a name tag so that you feel like, and they brought me a name tag. But like those sorts of things just cause you to, like, let's just think about the big picture. If someone walks in, it might have the most best meaning. It's well-meaning, but it's confusing. Yeah. And if it's confusing to people, do they want to come back? Like we're talking about the church setting, but like you wouldn't do this in your home. Hi, welcome to my home. You just say, hey, you can put your coats there, and here's where you need the bathroom. It's down the hall and to the right. Hey, can I get you something to drink? You don't just like open the door, turn around, walk away. sit down, start
No,
watching TV, and expect them to fend for themselves.
that's so helpful because a lot of times I find myself at someone's house and I need to use the restroom, and I hate that awkward like, "Hey, can I use your restroom?" or "Hey, where's the restroom?" There's fancy ways that you can have a sign up in your house that says, "Here's the restroom," or that you can tell people, "Hey, just so you know, the restroom's over here." This is. I oftentimes go to someone's house for dinner and I don't know where the family normally sits. So like, am I allowed to sit in this
Right.
chair? Is this,
Yep.
no, that's where dad sits, and
Well, and is he like, hey, do we have seating assignments here? You just, like you're asking, but if you think ahead of those questions
yeah,
and just help answer the questions that you might think that someone else is, like anticipate those things. That's
sure.
showing love. It makes it easier for somebody. It's very hospitable, right? It's great. It's easy. You're not making people guess, and you're not making them feel uncomfortable in those circumstances that don't need to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I think this is really the essence of what these scriptures are showing, that we would be coming together in this, that we'd be showing hospitality well together, that we, I think it's a lot more than just feed people food at your house.
Sure.
Right.
No, I think
there's so much more to it.
You talked about different verses in the Bible that have the word hospitality in them, but I think at the end of the day, hospitality is really a way of acting out and living out the command that Christ has given us to love our neighbor and to love others, right?
Yep. And what that can look like. I just thought of another there's all kinds of examples. So I moved to an area where I'm now in a tornado zone, right? Like I live in the Midwest. They have tornadoes here. I moved from a place where I had never experienced, other than one time when I was in the military. I didn't sure, everyone will say, oh, there was a tornado in Salt Lake in 1998 or 1997. Okay, I get all that, right? We didn't regularly experience tornadoes. We don't have tornado sirens in Salt Lake City, right? But where I live here, they have tornado sirens, okay? And so when we came out to visit, and the first 2 times they came out to visit, sirens went off in my town.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, is that I don't know. I'm not, do I need to run to the basement? I'm looking around for the clouds. And a lot of the people would say, if there's a tornado, we just go out on our porch or we just look for it. But that's not the tornado sirens. That's something else. Right. So I'd say, because the tornado siren is one long continuous burst. This was like an up, down sort of short thing. And I'm like, well, and no one would tell me what it is. So we're like, are we supposed to do something? What's supposed to happen? Well, it turns out that's how they call the volunteer EMT staff, because I'm in a small town, or the fire department, or there's things that those sirens do that no one felt the need to tell me. And they test the tornado siren on the first Saturday of every month at noon. No one told me that. It's horrible weather one Saturday when we first live here. We're down in our basement. Yeah. And it's just a test. And I'm like, when are they going to, okay, the siren's done. Is it over? Like, what are we doing? We're freaking out. No one bothered to tell me. So realizing how much that was hard for me, every time I've had guests come and visit, you included.
I was just going to say.
I'm like, listen, if the siren goes off, Josiah, it's not a tornado, it's a volunteer. Just so you don't have to feel that same worry and concern and fear that I felt. I'm just trying to put my needs, like your needs are going to be ahead of mine, and I'm going to empathetically think about what you might be going through.
No,
that's
I think
how
that's
we
really
love
helpful.
one another.
I'm glad that you brought that up because, thank God that siren didn't go off while I was visiting you. But I did appreciate how you had told me that ahead of time. And I think when it comes to churches or to our homes, we just need to, think through things through other people's lenses. Next time when you walk through your church on Sunday, think, if I was a visitor here, would I know where to go? And then look around. Would I know where the coffee is? Would I know where the kids' things are?
Would there
when
be
you get
someone
home
here to help
today,
me?
walk through your front door. Think, would I know where the restroom is? Would I feel comfortable just walking in here? Do I know I should take my shoes off or I'm okay to leave them on? Do I know where I should eat when we sit down to eat together?
And then we still didn't answer your big question. I have a small apartment. What do I do? Well, lovingly think through that. Maybe you take people out to eat. Maybe you tell them ahead of time. I've got a really small apartment, but if you're okay sitting in my living room, we'll do this. Or maybe we XYZ. Or, hey, I'd love to have you over, but I have a small breakfast nook. And they go, oh, well, we have a big place. Why don't you come over to our house? It's not, I have people in my home 3 days a week. I feed them this. I do. It's not that. It's thinking of others, loving others. And in some cases, I get invites to other people's houses, and it's loving that they go. They want to show off their home, and they want to invite me into their home. And it's even hospitable for me to go and have a meal with them and bring my family, right? Let's just think think a little bigger
Yeah.
than what we've sort of put ourselves in a box. And I think hospitality is so much more than that little box.
Yeah, don't put hospitality in a box. Really think about others, and not be so oriented that you can't reach out and help others or say hello to a visitor because you're cleaning the coffee pots or you're cooking dinner.
Right. Hey, I
just
want to put
love
it out there.
others.
If there's some people who are listening and they have some other ideas about how to really do this well, I would love to hear from them. We're at SaltyBeliever at gmail.com.
Yep.
Or you can go to SaltyBeliever.com and there's like a communication form, contact us, fill that out. I mean, I'm starting to get more emails from people, which is helpful.
Awesome.
I'd love to hear your ideas or questions, or if you have any other question that we might talk about on the podcast. But I'm sure we've missed a lot. I'm not the most hospitable person, thinking of others, putting their needs above my own, thinking how new people might see. I'm not great, so I'd love to hear some of the ideas other people have.
I think it's all an area we can each grow in. Until next time.
Thanks for listening. Salty Believer Unscripted is a production of SaltyBeliever.com. Visit the website to find more resources like the podcast you've just listened to.